Hello there, I'm the Common Sense Guy, or as some people know me better as now, I'm Jason. How you all doing? We're actually going to be talking about racism today, and I don't know if anybody actually remembers t1j, or the one janitor, but we're going to be doing a little bit of a response video to him and his idea of racism. How, to be honest, let's just get into the video. You'll be able to understand it a lot better, a lot more. So let's just get into the video and let's just watch it, and we'll do a running commentary with it, shall we? Let's do that. See you there.
If I had to guess, I would say that nobody thinks they're racist.
I would actually like to start off by saying that I actually agree with you that most people that do some form of racist activities or some form of racial slurring or talking or sometimes even just thinking, yes, some of them wouldn't know that they're racist, but to say that nobody knows that they're racist or thinks that they're racist is completely going against the actual definition of racist, which is, I'm sure as you're more than aware, thinking that your race is superior to another race. That is the whole definition of racism, isn't it? To think that your race or somebody's race is superior to another person's race or another people's race. That's the whole point. That means that they know that they're racist because they think they're superior.
Even people who are unambiguously racist.
Oh, racist. Give me a break.
Because of this, it's always difficult to point out that someone has said or done something racist, because the response to such an accusation is one of two extremes: exaggerated guilt or hyper defensiveness.
So you're trying to suggest, T1J, that everybody that is ambiguously racist, by your own definitions, not anybody else's definitions, but your own definitions, is hiding probably a form of complicit biasness towards the whole idea of race? Or is it something that it could be that you perceive a comment to be racist, and that's the reason why sometimes people are hyper defensive about it, because generally they're not being racist, and yet somebody has called them this? Maybe that is an extra reason that you didn't even think that you were going to put into place. After all, stereotypes exist.
Especially if we're talking about white people.
Just wow. Especially white people. As in, you're talking about the idea of racism, and then yet in yourself are making a bigoted racist argument that all white people, or especially white people, are complicit in what you're talking about. That sounds like it's a catch-all. That means lumping everybody into the same group. That's at least bigoted. Then again, it's then turning it all about race after that. So isn't that then turning itself into racist in itself?
This, I believe, is because a lot of people, especially white people, seem to think that human beings can be cleanly separated into groups of racist and not racist.
Generally, T1J, that is because most people are either racist or not racist. You kind of don't have, oh, you're a little bit racist, or you're just a pinch racist. You either are or you aren't. It's not an ambiguous term where it's a case of, oh, I've cut myself so I'm bleeding a little bit, to where I've been slit across wherever and I'm bleeding a lot. It's not a comparison between the two. You are either racist or you are not. Even if you were just a little bit racist, as in, I don't know, playing on a particular stereotype and pushing that as a hole on a catch-22, as somebody just did, saying that all white people, or especially white people, maybe that would class itself as being racist.
And not racist people are apparently incapable of racism, or at least apparently they should be. So when they're accused of being racist, there must be some kind of mistake.
No, T1J, it means that the not racist people have done nothing to be classified as racist. As soon as they are doing something or have said something that is racist, guess what? It then means they're racist. Just because that we put them into a category that is non-racist or racist doesn't mean that they cannot change and intertwine. Doesn't mean that somebody that's not racist cannot be ever a racist, and vice versa. Just because somebody was a racist doesn't mean that they cannot learn not to be racist. It's not hard Stop putting people into categories and saying that they cannot change. That's the great thing about humanity. People can change.
In one extreme, you have people accusing you of race baiting or misusing the word racist. The SJWs call everything racist, so now the word racist has lost all meaning.
Yes, I actually agree with you there, T1j. The fact is that a lot of people would classify everybody as everything, and the thing is, everybody is not everything. Everybody's an individual, everybody thinks individually, at least to a certain extent. I'm not going to classify everybody as individualists. Some people like the idea of collectivism, but that's besides the point. The point is on this, that if somebody wanted to talk about immigration and the idea of immigration, or the idea of putting more private hospitals up, or the idea of doing anything that is completely against general ideas of socialism, then it's a case of people get called racist. People get called all the moralistic names under the sun to try and discredit and defame them. Not because that they are being racist, not because they are being criminal or just moralistically outraged, but literally because that they want to have a conversation with somebody that they feel is uncomfortable, i.e. immigration being a very high conversation starter and conversation piece. Now, that doesn't mean that people shouldn't be able to talk about it, but just because that some people want to call them racist about it, this is the reasons why some people would call people that call themselves SJWs an outrage culture by calling everything that they disagree with racist.
Except, of course, when someone is racist to white people.
So one, you can admit that it happens. If you can admit that it happens, why don't you re-watch this video and use your own biases towards people of colour and how you think that they should be treated, so how you explain people that are racist and how they are inherently white people. And the fact is that, yeah, okay, people do call out people that are people of colour that are being racist to white people, or just people in general that are being racist to white people, because you are literally stereotyping all white people, or as you have said, most white people, or implied most white people. That in itself is a point of racism. You are lumping everybody together, and if it's not racism, it's a form of bigotry. And if you're trying to fight against this racism and bigotry, then you need to change your language.
Or alternatively, the white guilt kicks in and they have a crisis of conscience.
Oh my. The white guilt. The white guilt. Not somebody who's white that can feel guilty, but the white guilt. Change that for any other colour or any other race or ethnicity, and I wonder how outraged you would be to be hearing that as a catch-all 22 point. Ridiculous, T1j. Absolutely ridiculous. For somebody that's supposed to be fighting against racism, you sure in itself seem to be laying everything solely on the ideas of white people, to the point of even coining a phrase of white guilt, or the white guilt.
Some things are obvious examples of racism that I assume even the most shit-lordish among you could agree is pretty bad. Like threatening to call ICE on random people just because they were speaking Spanish.
Yes, we can agree on that.
Or calling a black person the N-word while your company's name and phone number is fully displayed on camera.
Yes, I agree that these people are probably racist. I completely agree these actions are definitely racist actions. I agree with you wholly 100%.
Some forms of racism, however, are more subtle, and if you're not a part of a marginalized group, they may be less obvious to you. Like commenting on how a black person speaks so well.
He speaks so well! Like that's a compliment!
T1j, I can't believe that you're actually using this as an actual argument. People say that from people that come from council estates. Oh, you speak so eloquently. You use vocabulary to a very high extent. These are the things that people actually look for and actually comment on. So if somebody says, oh, you speak so well, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're racially stereotyping you. It just means that they are paying you a compliment. This happens to white people, to Asians, to blacks, to any other colour that you want to use. Stop getting your knickers in a twist.
Asking an Asian American where they are really from.
But sometimes, even though the intent is good, it still comes off culturally insensitive, right?
What are you talking about? People from Spain will get asked in the UK if they are really from the UK. People from England will get asked if they are really from Germany in Germany. People in the north, say for instance, I don't know, near Scotland, would be asked if they're really from England, if they moved to England. Same thing for Welsh, same thing for any others that have different dialects. What is your point on this? People are always going to ask, is that where you are from originally? It is not a racist question to ask that. There are ways of being racist about it, yes, but to physically just ask the question, is this where you're really from? That is not a racist question, because people do that all over the world.
I think this sort of exemplifies the lack of perspective a lot of people have. Now, if any honest person takes like 12 seconds to think about it, it should be pretty obvious why treating someone like an outsider to your country or implying lower standards because of their race is insensitive. But
no, Mr. T1j, it's not a case of being insensitive to ask where somebody may have come from. It's not insensitive. That does not exclude people. It does not make people somehow inherently an outsider. All it does is show that you're interested in where they come from, and in fact, probably interested in their culture. But you know, that's racist.
even acknowledging that, you still get people that say things like, well, yeah, but is it racist? Racist is such a strong word. If you misuse it, it loses its impact.
And guess what? Those people would be correct to say that it would lose impact if you are generally just asking somebody where they originally come from, if you notice that their dialect and their accent is different to the place in which they are in. Do you see how ridiculous this point is, T1j?
Was an illuminating segment from an April episode of CNN Tonight with Don Lemon, where Lemon speaks with political commentators Angela Rye, Amanda Carpenter, and Scott Jennings. Carpenter and Jennings both admitted that Trump routinely expresses bigoted and racially insensitive sentiments, but neither would go so far as to call him racist.
Imagine my shock.
And in fact, they essentially admonished Don and Angela against using the word race.
I don't believe the man is a racist. I believe the man has said insensitive things about race. I think to label someone a racist in this country is one of the harshest things you can say. And I do not personally want to label
when it's
Donald
true,
Trump.
Scott?
First of all, it's not true. And I challenge anybody, as we're on T1j's actual video, for anybody in the comment section that is going to watch this video or anything, show me one instance in which Donald Trump was actually racist and wasn't making a point about individuals in a race. Tell me and show me one, and I will renounce this whole video and delete it.
This is enlightening, as it shows that for some people, being called racist is worse than actually being racist.
No, you're actually conflating two different things. Being insensitive when you are speaking is not a class of being racist, and that's what the actual commentator is actually trying to say here. It's not a case that he's trying to say that Donald Trump isn't insensitive to certain groups of people. He's saying that he doesn't do it on a racist bias. And then you come along and say, oh, this is enlightening, that it's actually more scary for people to be called racist than actually be one. No, it's a case of when you call somebody something, you need to prove they are before you can call them that. That is all.
And I think that's at least in part why there's been this huge pushback to the racist label and the rise of this idea that the left just calls everything racist.
The reason, T1j, that everybody is now pushing back against this racist label is because you have to prove that somebody is racist, and that is not just talking about immigration and other instances of that such an ilk. It's a case you actually have to prove that that person is racist with racist statements. Now, if one is making a generalization about a whole race, then fair enough, that's racist. If one is making a generalization about a group that is in a race, then that is not racist. That is actually separating and showing there is a nuance between what is going on. But you know, skewer the data to fit your narrative and to fit your points of view. Again, I offer this same challenge to anybody. Prove me one time that Donald Trump has actually been racist, and I will delete this video and delete this post.
I've said before that I think this whole anti-PC free speech movement has been hijacked by people who just want to say and do awful and bigoted shit without any consequences.
You do realize that with the process of this pushback, so to speak, and the fact that people actually want to produce freedom of speech properly, is the fact that when you say something like now for yourself, it can be rebutted. The same as what I am doing now to rebuttal you, that can also be rebutted by countless other people, regardless of yourself as well. That is the power of free speech, that ideas that are bad can be rebutted. That's the whole point. If you destroy the ideology and destroy the idea, then the idea cannot be perpetuated. That's the point of freedom of speech. Sunlight is the best form of disinfectant. Bring the ideas to light and let them be challenged.
You might argue that being overtly racist is worse than being subtly racist, or that actively disparaging a group of people is worse than well-meaning insensitivity. And you might be right in some cases, but the thing I want you to internalize is that it's all still racism. Racism is not a binary. You can't really separate people or behaviors into distinct categories of obviously racist and obviously not racist. I mean, clearly calling someone the N-word right before you deny them a bank loan is definitely worse than touching someone's hair without their permission.
Sorry, I had to let you actually go on a little bit there because it was funny watching you destroy your own arguments. It can be racist, but it can't be racist. But it can be racist, but it might not be racist. And then you pull out two amazing instances that are completely and utterly different. One is overtly going to be racist. Overtly. Calling somebody that name, why denying them a bank loan or why doing anything is obviously a disparity towards that person and is definitely racist. Touching somebody's hair without their permission, as fucking creepy as that is, and I don't know why people do that, and I really don't, it is not inherently racist. People are not doing that because they see that as a superiority that I need to touch your hair. It's more of a case of, oh, that's really interesting hair. I wonder how it feels like. Now, I'm not defending it. I'm saying that it is fucking creepy as shit, but it's not racist. That's why I just wanted to draw your attention to that. What you've just described is the whole point of putting people into racist and not racist categories. And that's what you've already done, and you didn't even realize it.
Both of those are things that contribute to and reinforce marginalization and undermining of people of color. To different degrees, obviously, but they both do it.
Actually, no, they don't, to be honest with you. One is inherently racist. Without question. The other, as creepy as it is, as I said before, with touching the hair and whatnot, is a showing of interest into the culture and the identity of people of color and how they do things their way, and it just shows an interest in the actual culture in itself. To say that showing an interest into a culture, even it's creepy as hell to touch somebody's hair, is racist, is what the problem is. The way that you actually stop forms of proper racism or actual racism is by showing the cultures are just different. There is nothing to be scared of. That's the whole point. Yes, as creepy as it is to touch somebody's hair, and it really is, still not racist and doesn't show racist intentions. It shows an intention of actually trying to get to know the culture and how it feels and how it looks and how it's done.
Starting to think that for us to move forward on this issue, we have to start calling things what they are. If someone gets slashed across the stomach with a machete, you might say, dude, you're bleeding. If someone cuts the tip of their finger chopping onions, like I did a couple days ago, it would still be correct to say, dude, you're bleeding.
T1j, very, very interesting point on that aspect. For anybody that actually speaks the English language and actually knows the English language, or language in general, can know that you can say one thing and go, oh yes, I've cut my finger and it really hurts and it's bleeding quite a bit, to, oh my god, you're fucking bleeding, oh my god, you're going to die. There's a slight difference, just a little bit of a difference from those type of explanations of what's going on and, you know, descriptors of what's happening.
We don't use euphemisms just because it's a lesser degree. We don't say, yo, man, your finger's dripping the red stuff, bro. So maybe if we stop tiptoeing around these situations with terms like racially charged, controversial, or racially insensitive, and just started calling racist shit racist.
The thing is, T1j, that it's the fact that those words actually exist to actually form actual definitions. Those definitions of those words are there for a particular reason. Guess why? Because racist or racism didn't actually cover them in their definition. That's why they needed extra words. Amazing how life works like that, isn't it? The point is that just because that you are culturally insensitive does not mean that you are racist. Or just because you're religiously insensitive doesn't mean you're racist either. Just because that you dislike a culture does not mean that you dislike the people that are practicing it. That's the reason why there are differences. Words have definitions, use them.
Now I understand people don't like to be called racist, especially white people. They say that racist is the N-word for white people, which I don't want to get into how obnoxious that is, but I understand what they're getting at.
I just wanted to quickly point out, you use that term again, especially white people. Not some, not most, but especially white people. Language is important. Learn the differences. Imagine if I said all black people, or Asian people, or Indian people. Imagine if I said that in a descriptive term trying to explain the differences in racism. What forms of bigotry and bigot would I be called and racist would I be called? This is the whole point of the video. The fact is that you can say racially charged statements and be racially insensitive to what's actually being said and what's being talked about. Yet, it's a case that you're able to do this. But if anybody else comes up with anything that's vaguely similar that has a particular skin pigmentation, then it's a case that they are overtly racist. Why is that? Why is it that they are overtly racist for saying the same things that you say?
Obviously, I understand that grammatically you can correctly use the word racist as a noun. In fact, I did this myself not too long ago. In fact, I think one good definition of a racist is a person who consistently does and says racist shit.
Interesting choice of words there. So that they consistently, in your opinion, do and say racist shit. Does that mean that that does come down to a binary then, that you either are or you are not? So what was the point of this whole video again? If your definition of racist and racism is somebody that consistently does or says something that is racist, that inherently makes them racist, and I agree with you in that definition, by the way. So does that mean that there is a binary, that people that act and do racist things are, and people that act and do not racist things are not racist? I wonder. So with that all being said, I think it's best for me to say au revoir, farewell, adieu, auf Wiedersehen, I'll see you all again. But first of all, don't forget to like this video, don't forget to subscribe to this video, and don't forget to check out my new videos. See you all again real soon. Bye bye for now.